If horror has a human face, then its name is Ivan Robert Milat. Australia's worst serial killer was found guilty yesterday of murdering 7 backpackers. He's to spend the rest of his natural life behind bars for killings a judge said were savage and cruel, amongst the worst of their type. Milat was also found guilty of abducting an 8th backpacker, the one who got away, Englishman Paul Onions. Without him, Milat might still be at large, still killing, because only through his evidence were police able to pinpoint Milat as a murderer. Onions, you see, had gone perilously close to being another victim, and the experience had haunted him. Tonight, his story for the first time in all its chilling detail. Paul Onions is the only person to stare down the barrel of Ivan Milat's gun and live to tell the story. And just as well, because Ivan Milat could still be at large and still be killing if it wasn't for this young Englishman and his love of adventure.
Australia seemed the one last place I thought on earth where there was plenty of adventure left.
The last frontier.
No, that's how I imagine it.
Where men are men.
I thought, give me a chance to relax after being in the Navy and get a job and see plenty of sunshine and have a good look around.
As a teenager, it was the Royal Navy that gave Paul the travel bug. By age 24 and working as an air conditioning mechanic, he wanted to travel again, this time with a backpack around Australia. So Paul left his job in Birmingham and flew to Sydney. At first he stayed in a youth hostel with a few mates. Then he took a train to Sydney's outskirts to hitch a ride down the Hume Highway. He was headed for Mildura to go fruit picking. It was the Australia Day long weekend of 1990. You were wandering along here?
Yes.
Looking for something to drink?
Yeah.
So it all comes back?
Oh, yeah.
G'day, mate. How did we hit you?
So good.
He approached you.
Oh, as I came out the shop, he says, he seen my rucksack on my back, he says, do you need a lift? And I thought, oh, great, yeah.
Oh, there's the car. Bring me back in the back and we'll get going.
My lucky day.
Yeah, brilliant. That's all I need. So this is where the journey starts.
And you meet your first Australian.
Yeah. Well, I thought he looked a bit like Dennis Lilly to me.
The cricketer?
Because I like cricket. And the only Australians I'd really seen was at the cricket match. So it was a big impression at first. I thought, oh, as you laugh to yourself, I thought, oh, it's Dennis Lilly.
If only Paul knew. Just a couple of weeks before, the man he was sitting next to murdered 2 Melbourne backpackers, Deborah Everest and James Gibson. Paul was to be the next target. As Milat drove toward his killing ground, Paul began to sense him getting edgy.
It became a bit anti-racial to the immigrants who were living in Australia. He found them, they're quite offensive, really.
You go out west and you don't know if you're in Vietnam or bloody China.
I was so happy to get the ride. And then for all of a sudden, I thought, oh no. First go, I got the nutter. That was my initial reaction.
I don't care where you come from. It's just not bloody right.
An hour and a half south of Sydney are the Southern Highlands, nice tidy townships and grand weekenders. And just a few minutes off the highway, up a dirt road, is the Belanglo State Forest. As they approached the turnoff to this road, Paul Onions really began to get the jitters.
And then, for some reason, we just started to slow down a bit. And he just kept looking in his mirror. And if you can drive yourself, you find it a bit odd. And then I said, what's the problem, man? And he says, oh.
We'll lose the radio signal, mate. When we get this far out of Sydney, I'm going to pull over up the road and I'm going to get some cassettes from underneath the seat so we can listen to some music, eh?
That was his excuse, really, to get some cassettes from under the seat to put some music on. Well, it just seemed odd because there was actually cassettes in between us. once the vehicle was pulled over and he got out to search under the seat, I thought, you know, there's two sides to your brain. There's the calm side saying, oh, you should be happy this guy's given you a lift. What are you worried about? Then there's the other side saying, hold on, there's something that doesn't feel right there. So the initial reaction to me then was, well, I'll just stretch my legs and see how it provokes him.
Why are you getting out of the car?
After all, it's a sunny day and there are quite a few cars
around.
around.
I had a good look around. I thought, oh, well, what's the problem? Surely not here, like, not in this situation. So I thought I'll just get back in and see what happens. So I got back in the vehicle and just put my seatbelt on. He watched me do it. He got back in. So I thought, oh, no problem at all. Then the next minute he jumps straight back out and says, I'll just have to look under the seat one more time. And I thought, this is it.
I'll have one of those cassettes, huh?
So he just bent over, looked under the seat, and just pulled out a revolver. And obviously all the questions was answered in one movement.
You know what this is?
Easy, bro. What's wrong, mate? Look, please, just calm down, mate.
And then the next minute he just pulled this rope from under the seat. And when I seen the rope, that just scared me more than the gun. But as soon as I seen the rope, I thought, oh, that's going to be it's going to take a bit of time. He's going to do whatever he wants.
It's a robbery, that's what it is.
I just thought, I'm out of here, like. I was just, obviously panicking and just running off away from the vehicle. I heard him shout, stop else I'll shoot, stop else I'll shoot. And then I just heard the gun go off. And that was like, it was like a massive jolt to your system, like you knew it was for real then, like, oh God, really panicking then. I was just really panicking then to try and stop some vehicles. And they obviously could see what was happening. And they were just stopping, slowing down, and just driving straight off. I thought, oh, nobody's going to stop.
Oh, man, stop! Guys, come on! Come on, please, oh, God, stop! Get back in the car!
It's just like a passing of time. I was just about to give up and say, oh, yeah, he's won. I better go back.
Get back in the car!
And I thought, if I go back there, it just seemed that was the end. If I go back there, and that sort of when I made my mind up what I was going to do. I thought the next vehicle that comes over the bow of the hill, I'm just going to stop it no matter what.
What, jump in front of it?
Yeah, it just seemed I'd rather stop a car, get killed, than go back to that vehicle and face the end that way.
If I hadn't stopped, yeah, he would have joined the others in the forest.
Or you'd have run him over.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a very lucky man.
It was Mrs. Joanne Berry who rescued Paul. She was driving to Canberra with his sister and their 5 children on board.
Panic. He was shaking, absolutely petrified. I think he just about screamed, "Help me, he's got a gun." And that was very clear. So, and then afterwards when he dived in the car, he'd sort of dived in the sliding door and sort of crouched behind the driver's seat. So he'd gone right across the car.
As she pulled away, I just looked back and had one quick last glance.
When you did look back, as the car retreated, did you see the look in his face?
Well, like a smirk, like. It's a bit strange the way he was looking. And that's like the last impression I had, like.
Joanne turned around and drove back to the nearest police station.
Barrel Police Station. And I went in with Paul. We spoke to a young female constable in there, and
in their panic, no one got the number plate, but Paul told his story to the local policewoman on duty. Trouble is, that's where the information stayed, buried in the bowels of the police station. Remember that back in 1990, the location of the attack had no significance. It would be 2 years before the first bodies were found there. Paul returned nervously to Sydney. There was no further police follow-up. Paul's girlfriend, Michelle, joined him to tour Australia, this time in a bus. But back home in England, Paul couldn't forget, no matter how hard he tried.
When we was going on holiday, I kept being sick and I was tired all the time, wasn't I? No matter how much sleep I had, I was just tired all the time.
Yeah, he was physically ill, but we never actually linked it to the Australia thing.
Milat must have been shaken by the close call with Paul Onions. He stopped killing for about a year, as far as anyone knows, but then more backpackers disappeared. In Easter 1992, 2 British girls were murdered, and this made big news in the British papers. Half a world away in Birmingham, on September the 21st, 1992, the British newspapers were carrying a story about the discovery of the bodies of those missing British backpackers in the Belanglo forest. The details included a map which pinpointed Bowral. It convinced Paul Onions of what he'd already suspected for so long, that what had happened to him 2 years ago on the Hume Highway wasn't a robbery at all, but was part of something much more sinister.
So that's when I decided to speak to somebody then. I just got in touch with the embassy and the Australian embassy, and they just gave me a telephone number in Sydney.
By this stage, a police task force was in full swing. A record reward was on offer. Ivan Milat's name was already on a routine list of suspects because of previous offences. Paul's information would be the big breakthrough. And at last, the incident report from Bowral Police Station was unearthed. But as he flew to Australia to be interviewed, Paul became worried. Milat had his passport and address. Was it really the police he'd been speaking with by phone, or was it Milat?
What you got to remember as well, he had all my possessions, my backpack, everything, passport, all my personal letters, so he would have known everything about me.
So you were paranoid, perhaps understandably, but you're thinking, maybe it's not the police I'm going back to.
I know it's laughable now, but that's what I was thinking at the time.
So, on arrival in Sydney, Paul was relieved when 2 detectives met him and displayed their IDs. Paul's trip was a turning point. He pinpointed Ivan Milat from a series of photos. Milat became suspect number 1.
I went through all the pictures, and that was the one that gave me initial reaction. It made me uneasy when I looked at it. And then when I looked closer, I said to him, that's the person who I think I met that day.
After Paul's information, Ivan Milat was arrested, charged and went to trial, pleading his innocence.
It's all shit, mate. I didn't kill no one. I didn't kill no one, mate.
It was only when Paul was revealed as a key witness that he finally broke the news to his parents and 4 brothers of how close he'd come to being another victim. Until then, he'd told the family in Birmingham it had been nothing more than a robbery. He wanted to spare them the agony he'd seen in the parents of the victims. So you can feel for those parents?
Oh, yes, I said I felt for all those who was looking at our poor come back.
I mean, I still believe that there's a lot I don't know, a lot of the details, but you realise how lucky he is to be alive.
Ivan Milat has destroyed lives all over the world, killed 7 and devastated their loved ones in England, Germany and in Australia. Even Paul Onions, the one who got away, will be haunted for the rest of his life. You'll never forget this place.
All that feeling.
Or that face, the face of that man.
Yeah. That last look, as he looked at me, I just looked and I thought, I just don't want to be there, I just want to get away.
So do you think much about the possibility of the $500,000 reward?
Obviously, you know, it's only human nature to think about it, like. But the reward I've got is I've got my life. After I realise what's happened, and that's all, I'm happy with that, really.
Anything else is a bonus?
Yeah, anything else is a bonus, correct. That's the best way of answering that, Charles.
Hello, I'm Charles Wooley. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.